Hi, my name is Beth, and you're listening to the CannaFitness and Nutrition Podcast, where we are hanging out at the intersection of fitness, nutrition, and cannabis. Thank you so much for pressing play today. I'm Beth, your personal trainer and cannabis educator, and today I'm super excited because we're talking about how to select the right cannabis for you. Let's be honest. Selecting cannabis can be intimidating. Even if you have years of experience, if you haven't been following these steps, you may not be using the best type for your needs, right? Most people, whether you're experienced or new, you walk into a dispensary or scroll online, see hundreds of products, and either pick based on a strain name you heard before, like, oh, G Kush, yeah, that must be good, I've heard that. Grab whatever is the quote unquote strongest. I see that a lot. Or leave more confused than when you arrived, right? I think the first time I used cannabis was back in 2014, and I think I definitely left more confused than when I started. That was definitely me. And I didn't understand. So I didn't do what I was supposed to do, and it didn't work, and therefore I put it in a drawer. So we'll talk about that a little bit too, because I don't want that to happen to you. And the thing about cannabis too is that there's so much stereotype around it that people think that they're just supposed to be high and that's it, right? But it's so amazing, and it works best when it's intentional, and there's so much nuance to it. That's why we've got to talk about this framework. That's why we've got to talk about these steps, because I want you to feel amazing, and I want it to help you with whatever you need it to help you with. But I want to dispel the myth that it's just about getting high or that you'll just feel relaxed, because it's so much more than that. In fact, that's the pre-step, we'll call it. There's 4 steps, but before you even start the steps, you have to decide what you want the cannabis to do. Before you can look at brands, before you can look at formats, before you can look at flavors, you need to get clear on why you're using cannabis. You got to ask yourself, am I trying to calm anxiety? Am I looking for stress relief? Am I trying to improve my sleep, fall asleep, stay asleep, recover better, be less sore? Support my focus, right? If you feel a little like you maybe have ADHD, this can be great for focus. Mood. Have you been kind of down and you'd like to feel a little perked up? Appetite regulation. Are you not noticing when you're hungry, not noticing when you're full? Do you have a lot of pain, a lot of inflammation? The answer to that question is what's going to guide your cannabinoid profile. So what type of cannabis you need, meaning which cannabinoids do you mean? Cannabinoids are THC, CBD, CBG, CBN, CBC, THCV, right? There's lots. But before you can even pick out a brand, you got to know which cannabinoid you're looking for. CBD, which is the most common type of cannabis, is less than 0.3% THC, meaning it's not going to make you high. And that's an important distinction. It's calming, it's non-intoxicating, it's good for stress, inflammation, daytime use. It also helps you stay asleep. THC, on the other hand, is probably the most popular cannabinoid. It's going to have stronger mind-body effects because it's psychoactive. It's going to be helpful for falling asleep, pain, appetite, and relaxation, right? But then if you're not sure, or you think you need some of both, then maybe you need a blend, right? And that's where we start to get into balanced blends or ratios of CBD and THC together, okay? So once you know what you need, whether it's CBD, THC, or both, because that's definitely an option, now you need to go through the steps. And the steps are going to help you find the right product online or in a store, all right? We're going to go through both of those things. But the first thing, probably the biggest next question you have to ask yourself is, how do I want to consume the cannabis? How you consume it matters because different methods affect how fast it kicks in, how long it lasts, and how strong it is. Let's talk about the different ingestion methods, right? The most common is inhalation. Now, inhalation, I'm going to break this down between smoking and dry herb vaping. If you've been following the podcast, you know I recently did an episode on dry herb vaping. In fact, I think there's a couple of episodes on dry herb vaping in the archives there, because it's just so great and it's underutilized. Again, smoking is the most common. We're talking about joints, bongs, pre-rolls. Pre-rolls are like the hot ticket item in dispensaries right now. I think they outpace pretty much anything else. And that's fine, but I want you to know that there are other options. There's some upsides and some downsides, right? Smoking is the fastest onset. You're going to feel the effects within about 10 minutes, but the effects wear off in about 60 to 90 minutes. You're going to have lung irritation due to the fact that you're burning the material that creates it's combustion, right? It creates smoke, which gets into your lungs, and a lot of lungs don't love that. There's possible byproducts from burning the material, and it burns the terpenes. The terpenes are the aromatherapy of cannabis. So it gives it the aroma, the flavor, and you want terpenes because it helps add to the effects. So like if you're looking for a relaxing type of cannabis and you find something that's got what's called linalool in it, which linalool is basically what's in lavender. Lavender is what they put in bath bombs to make them relaxing, right? Then if you're really looking to relax, you want that linalool in there because it's going to make it even more relaxing. But if you burn it, then it's not going to be as relaxing as it could be. Does that make sense? So dry herb vaping, on the other hand, is still a fast onset, but you're not burning the plant. The flower is simply heated to a predetermined temperature using a tiny oven, which couple of things about that. One, there's basically no smell to it. It's very discreet. I mean, I love it because then I can smoke it. I can inhale in the house and the house doesn't smell. I can inhale in the Airbnb. We were just on vacation. Maybe don't tell them that, but no one can smell it, so it's fine. It's also more controlled dosing. So you actually have to measure the amount of flour you're putting in that tiny little oven. So you're not just winging it, right? It preserves, because you're not burning it, you're preserving the cannabinoids and the terpenes. It's preferred for fitness-minded users because of less lung irritation. I have a client, one of my clients, she likes to smoke a bong and she likes to inhale before she comes over for her workout, and which is fine, right? To each his own. I'm not here to tell you that you should or should not do one thing. I'm here to inform you. And there have been a couple times where she's come over after taking a hit and her lungs just were like so unhappy. It actually hurt her workout. Like we were not able to do all of the things because her lungs were on fire. So I'm just saying that if you like to exercise, you may want to consider a dry herb vape would have less irritation, or an edible, which we're going to talk about too. But in general, inhalation is great because you get immediate relief, immediate mood shift, and it's great for like pre-sleep if you can just want to wind down. Edibles. Now, edibles are great, right? Because again, it's more measured, but it's a slower onset. It's going to take at least 30 minutes for an edible to kick in. And it might even take 2 hours for it to kick in. The effects are going to last longer, 6 to 8 hours. And it's going to hit harder because it has to be metabolized by your liver. So it has to go through your digestive system, and it is just hits harder. So the other thing is you'll have to plan ahead. So if you're going to use it for your workout, so say you want to have more focus for your workout, it's at 4:30, then that means that you got to do backwards math and be like, okay, well now I got to take it by at least 3:30, maybe between 3 and 3:30 to make sure it hits because I had lunch. You got to do a little backwards math to get that planned. So it's great for sleep though. It's great for long lasting relief and sustained calm. Now there's tinctures. Tinctures are generally cannabis infused into an oil or an alcohol, and they come in a little bottle with a dropper, and you can put the drops under your tongue, and that is a sublingual. That is a faster onset than edibles because it absorbs quickly under your tongue. The effects last about 2 to 6 hours. It's more predictable than edibles, and it's easy to microdose. I will say that edibles are easy to microdose as well because you can always take half a gummy, right? But the tinctures, because of that little dropper, you can put in just a drop or 2 or 4, right? You can measure it. So it's great for steady regulation, anxiety, and appetite. I'm going to call this next category absorbables. That may not be a real word, but I'm going to call it because I'm going to talk about transdermal patches and suppositories, things that get absorbed through your body versus inhaling edibles or tinctures. Transdermal patches absorb into the bloodstream without psychoactive effects. Even if you put a THC patch on your sore bum, you're not going to be high. Okay? It just doesn't go that far into your bloodstream. Transdermal patches provide localized relief, which is why I said bum, because sometimes you get that hip pain, or you get that glute pain, or you get that piriformis syndrome, right? That would be a great place for a patch. You get localized pain relief. Suppositories you either put in vaginally or rectally here, and they actually are coated with the cannabis, and so the cannabis melts into your bodily fluids. And that is great for when you can't take an oral medication, right? If you're really sick, and you can't, but you need relief from whatever your symptoms are, but you can't inhale, or you can't take an edible, for whatever reason, maybe you are very sick. It's great. It's a great alternative to that. Suppositories are also great for, endometriosis, pelvic pain, PMS, menstrual cramps. Rectal suppositories are used for usually digestive issues. I don't see those very commonly, but I just want to throw those out there in case that happens to be your issue, right? Just know that there are medicinal ways you can use it in addition to just smoking and edibles, right? So absorbables, great for chronic pain, inflammation, pelvic pain, medicinal use. Bottom line, choose your ingestion method based on how fast you need relief and how long you need it to last. Okay? Now, step number 2, check for lab testing. This is something that most people don't think about. Probably just because they don't know. If a product doesn't have a third-party lab testing, don't buy it. This is actually a requirement in most states. So you should be able to access a certificate of analysis that provides detailed lab reports about the exact THC, CBD levels, presence of other cannabinoids like CBG, CBN, and confirmation it's free from pesticides, heavy metals, solvents, and mold, right? Those are the things that they're testing. Now, I live in New York, so it's a state regulation in New York. So all certificates of analysis are readily available. There's actually a QR code on each package. That's just our state's rule. So if you don't have that in your state, you should probably be able to find a certificate of analysis on the brand's website. So if you buy like Wild gummies, you should be able to go to the Wild website and find your certificates of analysis there. You could also, if you shop in a dispensary, talk to the dispensary because an employee there, they should have access to a certificate of analysis for you that they can give you if it's not on a QR code on your package. No lab test, no trust. Step number 3. Now this is big. You need to learn how to read labels because labels are your roadmap, but only if you know what matters. And it's just like reading nutrition labels, but there's a lot of information there. So how do you know? Now we've all kind of been trained in nutrition labels, right? You know to look at the calories, you know to look at the protein, you know, look at the sugars, you know, look at the sodium, right? We've kind of been trained on how to read nutrition labels. So we need that same training for cannabis labels. It's so important to know what you're putting into your body so that you can determine if this is the right cannabis for you. In order to learn how your body responds to various cannabinoids, doses, strains, you need exact information. So your labels need to say the dose per serving, not just the percent of THC. That we actually don't care too much about that. I want to know whether the dose is, especially when it comes to edibles, is it 5 milligrams? Is it 10 milligrams? Is it 100 milligrams? Is it, I find, you ever see those chocolate bars? They can be confusing because a chocolate bar will say it has 100 milligrams, but what they mean is the whole bar has 100 milligrams and you're supposed to break off 10 at a time, right? These are things that I had to learn, and I want you to just know these things so you can make it easy for yourself. The label should also talk about the ratio of THC to CBD, if it's got both in it, or whether how much it has of THC, how much of CBD, how much of CBN. It should also have a full ingredient list, so anything else that they've put into it, especially edibles and or tinctures. Are there other colors, fillers, anything else in there? If it is a tincture, I like to look at what they used as their solvent, right? That matters. Is it oil-based or is it alcohol-based? And then the full breakdown of what's in there. Because you want to make sure that there's no synthetics. Is it Delta 9 THC or is it Delta 8 THC? I'll do a whole podcast on that, but Delta 8 is a synthetic, meaning it's man-made. Delta 9 comes from a plant, and that is two very different things. You want to avoid artificial dyes, fillers, and vague terms like proprietary blend. Because if you don't know what you're taking or how much you're taking, then you don't know how it's affecting you, and then you can't replicate it when you run out. That's the simple reason, right? What was I taking? I don't know. All right, well, let's just go buy some more random things. You're not going to get the results that you want that way. It's fun, but it's also kind of annoying because you're not guaranteed to feel as good. So, step number 4, try, track, and adjust. Cannabis is personal. What works beautifully for one person may not work for another. I love sharing what works for me, but I'm not saying that's going to work for you. I'm saying this is how I found what works for me, and this is how I feel, and I want you to feel just as good, and I want you to find what works for you. So tracking is key. It helps you turn this experience into insight. You can see patterns. You can get fancy and track in an app or a special journal, or you can just make notes in your phone or a notebook or a Post-it note. But make sure you're noting the product name, strain, cannabinoids available, right? THC, CBD, dose, how much you took, time of day, ingestion method. Did you smoke? Was it an edible? How you felt before, how you felt after. Your sleep, your appetite, your stress, your focus, recovery, symptoms of relief, depending on what you needed it for. If you're taking this for sleep, then you want to track your sleep. Like, did you wake up in the middle of the night? Did you not? How many times? And looking at things like your stress level. How calm were you? How stressed were you? How much did you eat? What did you eat? How tired were you? Your sleep, all those things. So kind of putting it all together here, most people are looking for the highest percentage of THC, meaning thinking that that's going to give them the best results. And that means the most effects. But also, most people think all cannabis is the same, with the goal of just being high or relaxed. But cannabis is so much more nuanced and personalized. When you choose cannabinoids based on your goal, right? Select the right ingestion method, verify lab testing, read labels intelligently, track and refine based on your patterns, then cannabis becomes a support tool, not a means to get high and check out. It becomes a supplement. Using cannabis as a wellness supplement is where regulation, consistency, and long-term results actually come from. I know this is a lot to digest. I get it. I probably told you this, that I bought it blindly, took it once, stuck it in a drawer, didn't know, didn't get any help from it. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know. I had to learn all this myself. I'm here to make this simple for you so that you can find the right cannabis for you quickly and easily. And that's why CannaFit provides the service of helping you nail your cannabis needs at the same time you're working on your overall health and fitness. That's why I put this together. I've been helping people with their fitness and nutrition for a long time, and now I want to help you find the cannabis that's going to help you support that, whether you're brand new or whether you're an experienced cannabis user. Either way, if you don't know yet what makes you feel absolutely amazing in your body, then let's do that, right? Let's do that. You can have cannabis that you love to get high and have fun, and then you can have cannabis that just helps you feel amazing. It helps you nail your fitness and your nutrition. That's what I do. Best results come from using cannabis as a tool along with exercise, nutrition, and stress management. So for personalized help, reach out. Send me an email. I'm Beth at CannaFitnessNutrition.com. I hang out on Instagram. It's Beth_CannaFitnessNutrition. I'd love to help you. Mostly, I just want to teach you. I mean, I do want to help you, but I want to teach you so that you can help yourself. Does that make sense? Anyway, thanks so much for listening. If this was helpful, share it because maybe someone else will find it helpful. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next time.